Yes, indeed. I'm finally back. Whoops. Except that I can't figure out how to use my iPad. Just one second. Stupid things. Always, these things are just... Okay.
What is this
Shit. I was watching on my computer all of my missed folks. Obviously, I didn't plan this out, as you can well see. And that's okay. We don't have to plan everything out in the world. We do have to figure out a way to put our iPad so that we don't interrupt anybody else. Okay. Let's try this. This ought to work. Okay, so I'm Suzanne Tidkmeyer. I used to write for Pathos for 10 years, a column called No Longer Quivering. 6 years ago, almost to the day, I moved here to Costa Rica to retirement with my husband. And it has been an up and a down ride. So that's why I'm here right now, is the downside. The downside of the Pura Vida. I lost internet and cable for just over a week. And not only did I lose those two things, but we're dealing with the aftermath of what happens when you have the wrong person house sit for you. So I'm going to go ahead and explain some of the things here that aren't so good. I will say I have taken a ton of videos driving every which way and other stuff with my new camera. So I'm going to be uploading a lot of Costa Rican content here very shortly. This has just been, I gotta say this, from the time that I got back in earlier June until now, it's just been hell on earth. Even though it's Costa Rica and everything is beautiful and the scenery is beautiful, it's not been good. Why? Because I've been trying to deal with the aftermath of having the world's worst house sitter. One of the things about that, and let me, before I forget, say, don't bully anybody I'm going to talk about here. Not even if I decide to talk about Katie Joy, which I have thoughts about some of the Katie Joy BS right now, too. Don't bully anybody. Don't go after them. Don't talk smack. These are just my opinions. So back to having the wrong housekeeper. Every time I turn around, since I've been home, and I've been home, since like the 12th or the 13th of June, I've discovered things that are misplaced, things that are broken. My cats are freaking out. They go and hide under the covers, go up under the covers and hide every time somebody they don't know comes here. So it has been one of the hellaciously bizarre periods of time in my life. That's why I say paradise or Hades. Most of the time, it's paradise. Not all the time. So since June 12th, I've been walking through this. And what do I mean by it's been bizarre? Well, things like yesterday, I went into my studio where I have all my art supplies, and there's quite a few art supplies in the closet there. Bottom to top, just packed with arts. So I haven't done much in there since I got back beyond work on my quilt, and that was sitting out. Nothing was done to it. Yesterday, I discovered that somebody had gone through all of my beading supplies where I make jewelry sometimes, and they used almost every bead and every finding. Every finding was gone. The only thing I found that was the most startling about that was someone had made a bracelet and just left it out of some of the beads, out of the wooden beads. I had no idea until yesterday. It's the creepiest effing thing ever. I'm just going to throw that out there. You come back to your home, you start going through your stuff. You're like, okay, what all happened here? Well, I don't know what happened here, but it was a bad something. But since I've been gone, since my internet went out and I had to wait for Telecable to come fix it, we've been quite busy. We've had to replace locks, not just have locks rekeyed, but actually replace them so that we don't have somebody with a key coming trumping in here in the middle of the night. And that includes like the gate and some other places. It's just been insane. I forgot. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. We do have cameras in every room, and now some outside. So it's been one thing after another. The person that was officially in charge says, well, I let a few people come. Well, I don't think she let a few people. I think she let everybody and their brother come. And here's one of the problems about being in Costa Rica and offering hospitality. Say, oh, you're going to be in paradise? You're going to love it. I know so many people who have done Airbnb here that is their extra income. And I could do it too. I've got a guest house right across the yard. The thing that has stopped me is all the horror stories people have told me of what's happened to them here in Costa Rica when they have done Airbnb. Ticos are some of the most wonderful people on the planet, except for one thing. If you have them as a renter, they are got to be the worst in the world from what I've observed. I'm not really sure why that is. They tend to tear stuff up. They tend to not respect boundaries. And you know I'm all about those boundaries. So this woman let a lot of Ticos in here, and so they're going through all of our crap. So now I'm tasked with the awful task of just going through everything. My file cabinet, my nightstand, I've gone through my closets. And that's how I'm finding every day something new and bizarre that it was done to us, and finding stuff that I can't even find. And I've had to lay out a lot of money on stuff that I have had here that are gone now. Simple stuff like a thermometer. A thermometer that is now mystery missing. So we've just been a pile of giggles here. A pile. So now that I've finished bitching, moaning, crying about what was done to my house. So the new thing for us when we do a pet sitter, when we do a house sitter, is that there will be no access to the house at all, and everybody will be on camera. I think it's a safety thing that you almost have to put in place here, or you don't know what the hell's going on in your property. Our house sitter broke 3 keys. Just broke them off, sheared them off. And I wonder how many were made by various people using the place. They're about to be in for a giant surprise if they try them ever again. Okay, so I'm done. I want to talk about Katie Joy Paulson, Without a Crystal Ball. Why? Because the same talk has popped up that always pops up. And when it does, I just have to debunk it and say, hey, this is where this came from. She has been wearing her reporter hat pretty relentlessly, saying, I am a journalist. I'm a journalist. I have journalistic privilege. Not understanding what that means, not understanding how you can legitimately or non-legitimately call yourself a reporter / journalist. The weird thing about Minnesota law is their threshold for declaring yourself a journalist is a very low one. Anybody who reports on anything in writing, YouTube, whatever, even something like a podcast. According to Minnesota law, if you do any of those things, you fall under being a reporter, and you have journalistic privilege. So there's that. I'm not real happy about that, because in most places, to call yourself a journalist, you have to have actual credentials. You have to be employed by a legitimate news source to call yourself that. I know I couldn't call myself that in Virginia. I had no intention of calling myself that here either. My college courses did not cover journalism in any way, shape, or form. I did take creative writing and some writing courses, but we did not cover journalism. And most places require you to have a degree in journalism along with some type of legitimate job experience. Writing for Pathos for 10 years, I don't think is adequate to do justice to being a reporter, because I had an agenda, just like everybody else who writes for Pathos isn't looking at these things with a eye where you don't have any preconceptions. You just want to look at it head on and then let the reader, the observer, come to their own conclusions. That's that's an actual journalist and a reporter. Those of us with opinions are more commentators than we are reporters. So I heard people the other day questioning Katie Joy, saying, yeah, she's a journalist. She's not a journalist. She's a reporter under Minnesota law, and that may transfer to journalism, but I don't think so. I think the deal with Katie is she just is what she is, which is a person doing opinion pieces, a commentator doing opinion pieces. On reality TV, the low-hanging fruit in the entertainment world. Even though we may be getting more and more of that if the SAG and writers' strike continues on. As there are no more actors and no more writers, we may be getting more and more crappy reality TV. And don't get me wrong, there's some good reality TV, and I like some of the crappiest of the crappy. I like Love After Lockup. My daughter likes 90 Day Fiancé, and sometimes we have turned each other on to various train wrecks on each other. So there you go. So she sounds off on reality TV mostly and comes up with all kinds of opinions. She doesn't have a journalism degree. The reason that Katie calls herself a journalist, and this is something I have to keep going over again and again and again and again, is towards the end of her time at Pathos asked all of us to rename ourselves. Instead of, most of us had called ourselves bloggers for a while. Most of us up there. They said they didn't want us using the term blogger any longer, that we had to come up with another term. I went with daily columnist because that's really what I was doing. I was writing a column with opinion daily for No Longer Quivering. Others called themselves a comedic writer, the people who were doing sheer comedy, and all sorts of other tags, like opinion writer, various things, everyone. She turned to me when this was all going on and said, so I can call myself a reporter journalist now, can't I? And I, in my infinite wisdom, said, yeah, all right, whatever. And I rolled my eyes and I rolled my head. But apparently my sarcasm never came through enough to her brain to tell her I was being sarcastic. She seemed to think that I was being 100% on the money accurate instead of being the sarcastic pile I am right now. That's one of the things that's really frustrating about living here. Sarcasm does not always translate to Ticos. I can be super sarcastic and they're looking at me like, what did she just say? Well, I'm sorry, I'm sarcastic. I always am, always will be. So that's where that little Katie Joy, I'm a reporter, came from, is from Pathos telling us to rebrand from being bloggers. Now, does that make her a journalist? No. Does Minnesota think she is a journalist that has journalistic privilege? Maybe. Their law is so vague and not strict at all, so she might actually be able to get away with it. That's the bad news. The good news is that journalistic privilege is not a tin-plated little armored piece that you put over your head to keep from getting hit by a sword. It's not a shield. It actually holds you to a much higher standard of accuracy. You know, she would just say, rumor has it, when she says some of the stuff she says, that makes all these wild claims, that might be a different thing altogether. But here's the problem with her, is that she does not do that. She just dives right in and babbles everything out as if it is the prophecy on high. Right now I'm reading a book about how the Bible was translated and the various translations, Fulgate, some of the others, King James Version, and it's very interesting how some of the original texts were translated from Greek and from Hebrew and Latin. Once you start reading up on how everything was translated, it kind of reminds you of how people online will translate stuff. One of the things that I've had to come to realize about my husband recently is that I can say stuff to him and he hears something entirely different. This was really driven home a few days ago. Let me think, what was it I was telling him and he heard? Oh, he came to me and threw his phone at me and said, fix it, go in there and fix WhatsApp. He wanted me to do something with WhatsApp, and I looked at him and I said, I don't know WhatsApp. I've never used WhatsApp but one time. You're asking me for something I don't have a clue to how to fix. And I told him that, and he said, you said the other day you know WhatsApp inside out. I said, no. I said that I'm going to be putting WhatsApp on my new phone, and I'm going to try to learn it and try to get my friends to use it instead of Skype, because I've had some big issues recently with Skype not working right here, for the same reason I have to use my iPad to go live here, because I can no longer go live easily with my computer or our internet connection. Oh, so he heard that as me saying I was an expert in WhatsApp, even though I was saying I don't know WhatsApp. I'm going to have to learn it now. And that is a big problem in all kinds of communication, when one person hears something that the other person is not actually saying. That's one of the frustrating things to me with when you start dealing with people on a professional level, particularly something like Pathos, where you're trying to help people. They've been steered to you and said, hey, if you have any problems, this person knows X, Y, and Z. They can help you a lot, blah, blah. Most of the people I've dealt with are really good. There are very few that I actually had to do much with. Most people hit the ground running and they were gone after they were introduced to me, and that was it. And I was fine with that. I was more than fine with that. But there were the occasional ones that was nothing but trouble. And they would hear, what's that one I went to? Yeah, it is really easy. I think it is too, tolerating, but I just don't know it. He was expecting me to do something that was pretty complex with WhatsApp without knowing anything about it. When I first got here, almost 6 years, more than 6 years ago, we joined a local church, and the pastor's wife put me on a WhatsApp list. And I unjoined after a week because my phone was blowing up with notifications every few minutes, and we pay as we go here. We don't do at all like in the States where you have your Verizon account and you just pay it monthly. We do a pay as you go. I'll spend maybe $10 every 2 or 3 months. I don't use my phone hardly at all. We had to get new phones recently, which is why my husband was running around shrieking I had to fix his WhatsApp. So that, like I said, she was one of the problem people that I had to deal with the most, that kept contacting me. We knocked heads, and the first time I really blocked her was over the Homeland Security raid of the Duggars. Why? Because we were both hearing from people on the ground there. Heck, we may have been hearing from the same exact people. But she kept reporting stuff that I had told her. So I said, well, if you're going to be that way about it, I'm going to write you into my story about this. I'm going to use your information. So I used some things that she knew that I didn't know. And she flipped out and started going off on me and demanded I remove them. So I did, and I blocked her. That was the first time. There were other times where she was just overwhelming, and I blocked her. And she'd come back with a whole new account with Facebook, because if you block her on one account, she will come right back with another one. And that was really the first time I started to realize this woman is really got some problems. I knew she was kind of not right before that, but when she took all of my information and used it and then threw a fit because I used her as tit for tat, it's good for the goose is even better for the other goose. That told me a whole lot, and I should have just kept blocking her from that point on. But I'm stupid. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. I love to give people second chances, unless they let everybody and their brother every Tico they know in the world into my house, and they make themselves jewelry from my beads and break all my crap and use everything else, then I tend to get a little antsy, particularly when the tequila is gone, even though I barely drink it. You drain my tequila and we're going to have problems. Oh, I wish I could have a tequila shot right now. That would be the best. But since I'm taking blood pressure meds, it's going to be a solid no. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that and clarify where I've been. I have been on, so look forward to videos that I'm about to upload of my time here in Costa Rica. I did a back roads from here to Tamarindo on my new GoPro, and it was awesome. There's only one problem. I didn't realize that they cut everything in 10 minutes segments. So it's going to be in 3 different videos I'm putting up. And I have a really funny video that I took of the chicken that comes and raids the yard like clockwork at least twice a day, sometimes more. She climbs the fence. I've never seen anything like it. I didn't catch her actually climbing, but I went to film her and she climbed the tree and got up on top of the fence. I've never seen an animal, a chicken, that would climb like that. This was the most shocking thing ever. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna go. I know that I've missed Taco Tuesday a couple times. I got some silly thoughts I need to work on, and I need to catch up on the latest, The Righteous Gemstones. I was really upset with the last one I watched because of the parents knowing that Judy had mental health issues and they declined to do anything about it. They took the evangelical way out, which is to say, not to act like it's nothing. The other evangelical way is to call it demons or evilness or selfishness and just deny it, instead of what it actually is many times it is a chemical imbalance in our brains. Not always, but many times. And it's normal to have periods of depression. It's normal to ask for help. I'd like to normalize that for everybody. I usually try to do that if I'm having a depressed time. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I will isolate, particularly since I got here. But it's hard to be depressed in a place that's sunshine all the time. It just is. So I'm going to sign off and say sayonara, and I'm going to upload my other stuff. You guys hopefully will get a kick out of the chicken and see the crazy back road going across the tops of the little mountains here, all the way in the back of Tamarindo, and then over to Langosta. We went to Langosta Surf Club to go play bingo, which is something we do once a month. Love you guys. Have a great day, the rest of your day, and avoid those crazy negative people if you can. If you can, I can. I'm trying to.